Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the October 23rd, 2018 meeting of the Charlton Board of Selectmen. Before we begin our meeting, let us stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll begin with the reading of the agenda. Minutes of the regular meeting, October 9th. Community relations, announcements, and open forum. Appointments and resignations. An appointment to the Lakes and Ponds Committee. An appointment to the Solar Moratorium Review Committee. Scheduled appointments, 6:45. Request to remove property from Chapter 61A. Peter Boria, Superintendent, a water well update. 7 o'clock, Board of Selectmen goals and objectives. I'd like us to table that item until our next meeting. Does the board have any objection?
No objections.
None.
Thank you. We'll be tabling that until the next meeting. We will pass over it. So we will take up our goals and objectives at our November meeting. Thank you. 7:15, the marijuana discussion, going through the process with Fourscore LLC. That item is put on hold until our next regular meeting because 2 members of the board are not here tonight. Under new business, request for letters of support, state legislature, 301 CMR 51 land acquisition, classification changes, that will also be put on hold this evening, and the upcoming holiday schedule, followed by old business, committee report, Board of Selectmen review policy, student select persons report, town administrator report, other business unknown at time of posting, that will be a special day, a special one-day license for a wedding, and our next meeting. Next meeting will be November 13th. That will be the Northeast Energy Center public hearing at 7 p.m. here in the Board of Selectmen room. And the next regular Selectmen's meeting is scheduled for November 20th. We will be skipping the meeting on November 6th because that is Election Day.
Go vote.
As you just did. Early voting has started here at the Town Hall. We will not be having an executive session tonight. We will hold that for the full board.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I move that we accept our October 9th meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, do you want to hold off approving the minutes until the full board is here, or is that lengthy?
Well, 3 of the 4 of us who are at that meeting are here now. So
Yeah.
75% of the board is actually here at this meeting. I think it's appropriate to approve the minutes.
I would say that if a board, and this goes with any meeting minutes, if there's any inconsistencies or errors, we can always reopen the minutes and make amendments.
Sounds good?
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, though.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anyone here for open forum? Okay. Community announcements. Early voting, October 22nd through November 2nd, is here at the Town Hall. Please check the town's website for the flyer with exact times and locations. Trick-or-treating in Charlton will be held on Wednesday, October 31st, Halloween, from 5:30 until 7:30 p.m. Kids, stay with the adults, use a flashlight, and don't eat any candy until your parents check it. Rabies and Microchip Clinic, Saturday, November 3rd, 2018, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Town Hall front parking lot. Sponsored by Friends of the Charlton Animal Shelter with the Second Chance Animal Shelter Services. Rabies vaccinations will be $5 each, distemper vaccinations $5 each, microchips $20 each. No checks or credit cards or debit cards accepted, please. Cats must be in carriers, dogs must be on leashes. Please bring previous rabies certificate to determine if you are eligible for a 3-year rabies vaccination. I think that should read, to determine if your pet is eligible for a 3-year rabies vaccination. Any questions? Please call FOCAS, email them at info@focascharlton.org. On Monday, November 5th, across the street at the Charlton Library in Dexter Hall, there will be a job fair from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. for the Green Gold Group. Please come prepared with your resume. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to clarify,
Yes.
Green Gold Group, is that the former Healthwise?
Yes, it is, and they're getting ready to open their facility on Route 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Under appointments, as Ms. Craver is not here, would you like to read that, Joe?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to stand in for Ms. Craver tonight.
I appreciate that.
These memos are from Ms. Craver. We are being asked to appoint the following to Lakes and Ponds Committee: Lori Fontaine, Jack Josty, Andrew McMahon, Andrew Visser, Nicole Giles, Barbara Perrin, and Richard Landry. They have been active with this committee and would like to make it official. Their term of appointment would be until June 30th, 2019. Ms. Craver recommends the board make this appointment as requested.
What are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, I recommend, or I move that we appoint the names as listed by Selectman Safarowicz to the Lakes and Ponds Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item under appointments is the Solar Moratorium Review Committee.
For Ms. Craver, at the board's last meeting, you accepted the resignation of Todd Gerard from the Solar Moratorium Review Committee and directed us to contact the Conservation Commission, asking them to recommend a volunteer from their commission to this committee. They have been notified that Robert Hartwig has volunteered, and tonight you are asked to appoint him to the Solar Moratorium Review Committee.
What are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, I move that we appoint Robert Hartwig to the Solar Moratorium Committee.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just personally would like to thank Dr. Hartwig for stepping forward, and we welcome him at our next meeting.
Yes, any committee that is lucky enough to have Dr. Hartwig on it will do very well.
He tried. They always try to take it easy, but they always get dragged back right back in.
He always gets pulled back in, but he is a valuable resource for this community, so we do thank him. What are the wishes of the board?
I think we have a motion in a second.
Yep.
Okay.
Just gonna vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye, motion passes.
So we're early for 6:45. Do you want to go to
Yes.
item number 1 on the new business?
No? Hi, can I ask why you're here?
Oh, I'm here for the town meeting.
Okay. Are you here for the public hearing?
I believe so. Wait a second.
Okay.
I thought it started at 6:30. The call to order,
Mm-hmm.
the consent agenda, community relations, the scheduled appointments, and new business.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Sure. We have a public hearing scheduled for 6:45, and we're a little early, so I didn't know if you were here for that.
No.
Okay. So yeah, we can go to new business.
All right.
which is
item number 1.
page-
Page 39.
Thank you.
Shall I read the memo?
Yes, please. Wow, and I crashed.
From Ms. Craver, a request for letters of support for state legislation for CO1 CMR 51 for land acquisition. Attached, please find an email from Beth Bandy, co-director of the Rural Commonwealth, asking the board to consider writing letters to various state officials to request changes in legislation and policy. She stated that over the last 2 years, more than 75 municipal leaders from 35 small towns in all 4 Western Massachusetts counties have attended small town summits. These events, which are coordinated rural commonwealth, have given rural communities officials opportunities to work on issues of common concern. At each of the 12 summit meetings held so far, payment for state-owned land have come up as a major problem for small towns in Massachusetts. This issue is complex and will require action in different parts of state government to be resolved. With representatives from towns in Berkshire, Hampton, Hampshire, and Franklin counties, last Thursday's meeting of the Small Town Summit at the Peru Town Hall received a report on the meager payments from the state for the state-owned land within so many rural communities. The report, Parks and Restitution, State-Owned Land Causing Financial Pain in Rural Massachusetts, was released by Rural Commonwealth earlier this month and is available on the organization's website. Noting that some western Massachusetts towns have over 50% of their land owned by the state, and the state payments in lieu of taxes is drastically lower than the property tax rates in those towns, the summit calls on the legislature and the governor to create a fair payment for these towns. She has attached letters to Matthew Beaton, Secretary for Energy and Environmental Affairs, and Sean Cronin, the Senior Deputy Commissioner of Division of Local Services, Department of Local Services. Department of Revenue requesting more transparency to the towns when the various state entities acquire land in their communities. These are their recommendations. Number one, all hearings about the state-owned land should be held in the communities where the parcels and questions are located. Number two, assessors, select boards, finance committee members, and town administrators should receive single topic notifications about any proposed or actual changes to the state-owned land compensation procedures. Number three, each rural town should be reimbursed for state-owned land on a consistent annual basis using a formula that is based on the town's current residential tax rate and the number of acres owned by the state during the year. And number four, the legislature should explore and support ways to make it easier for farmers to obtain mortgages on agricultural properties that exceed 20 acres. The summit has asked all impacted rural towns to contact Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and their legislatures, Secretary Beaton, and Senior Deputy Commissioner Cronin, requesting action on this issue. Rural communities will follow up with the various state entities to measure progress on remedying these inequities. What are the board's wishes?
So I don't see where we have any action to take on this regarding any motions. However, I think it's important to pay attention to this because pilot programs, which is short for payment in lieu of taxes, can sometimes shortchange communities, and it results in a deficit in their tax base. I would suggest that we forward this to our assessor, Deborah Ceccarini, and have her look into it to see if the town of Charlton is being hurt financially, or if we would benefit by supporting this.
Right, agreed. And I know the action item it asks in here is to write letters to the various officials as provided, I think, for the, including those 4 items that I read out about the hearings, the notification, the change in the formula.
Mm-hmm. So before we write the letter, I think it would behoove us to get the numbers in
Agreed.
place, find out how many acres of land in Charlton are affected by this, and what changing the formula would do for Charlton's tax base.
Agreed.
Okay. So we will ask the town administrator to reach out to the Board of Assessors and Deb Ceccarini and find out how this would affect us.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you. Which brings us to 6:45. So let's go back to scheduled appointments, request to remove property from 61A at 107 Colburn Road.
Attached is a request from attorney George Kurtzy on behalf of 0 Point Energy Solutions and ProTech Energy Solutions to lease a portion of land owned by Daniel and Holly Stevens at 107 Colburn Road in Charlton, Massachusetts. This request is to remove approximately 17.11 acres from Chapter 61A. The proposed use is for ground-mounted photovoltaic solar facilities identified as MAP 57, Block A, Lot Number 19. The Planning Board, Board of Assessors, Conservation Commission, and Water Sewer Commission have all reviewed the request and have no objection to the town of Charlton choosing not to exercise their first right of refusal. The chairman should open the public hearing by reading the attached public hearing notice.
Public hearing is now opened. Please be advised that the Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 23rd at 6:45 PM at the Charlton Town Hall, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Massachusetts, to act on a request by George P. Kuritsky, Esquire, on behalf of 0 Point Energy Solutions and Protech Energy Solutions, to lease a portion of land owned by Daniel and Holly Stevens of 107 Colburn Road, Charlton, Massachusetts. This request is to remove approximately 17.11 acres from Chapter 61A. The proposed use is for a ground-mounted photovoltaic solar facility as identified as map 57, Block A, Lot 19. Anyone interested should appear at the date and time specified or submit concerns in writing. Is there anyone here for the public hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All in favor, aye. Public hearing is now closed. If anyone has any comments, please forward them on to the planning board. Moving on.
I believe we also have to waive our first right of refusal.
Is that our responsibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I move that we waive our first right of refusal for the property in question.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none? All in favor of the motion? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right on time? 6:50, Mr. Boria.
Let's see if I have a memo. Yep, Superintendent Peter Boria is here to provide the board with a water well update.
That was an easy one.
Yeah.
So, good evening, nice to see everyone again.
Thanks.
Thanks for
So,
coming here.
the last time I was here, we were talking about the property down by Buffinville that we're exploring to try and locate a public water supply well to supply water for the town.
Yes.
At our last meeting, we talked about 2 wells that were drilled. One was more viable than the other, so we went and did another pump test on that well. The results of that second pump test were marginal still. What it told us was that we won't be able to place just one large well to get a decent amount of water from the ground in that area. Peter Newton from Bristol Engineering was at the Water Sewer Commission's meeting last night to give us an update on the pump test and what his findings were.
Mm-hmm.
So he's recommending moving forward, the area where we place the one well is up on a decent-sized plateau. And the area of, the area of the ground that's able to be pumped for water is only about 25 feet deep, about 115 feet down in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a huge recharge area as far as depth goes, but he thinks it expands horizontally quite a bit. So he's recommending that instead of just trying to do one well at that site, to drill 2 other wells 180 feet adjacent to it, so there'll be 3 wells in a line.
To see how far out it goes horizontally?
Well, yes, so hopefully, instead of having 1 well at 140 gallons per minute, we can have 3 wells at 40 gallons per minute that won't over-pump the aquifer and be able to keep the steady flow
Okay.
because of the thin layer of material at the depth. So that was his recommendation to move
Okay.
forward.
So 3 wells?
To use the
Okay.
existing well and
Yep.
drill 2 more.
Okay.
And luckily enough, we still have grant money available from the state that we can use to fund this cost.
Okay.
He estimated the cost between $80,000 and $100,000 to do this, to get in there, drill the additional 2 wells, and then do another 48-hour pump test on all 3 wells at the same time, monitor the groundwater, and just see how everything kind of reacts to that type of pump test.
Okay.
So the board voted last night that the next step for us is going to be to meet with the DEP and show them and discuss with them what our findings are and what our plans are moving forward for multiple reasons. One, to make sure we're not missing anything, and secondly, because we're using their grant funding to fund these next steps.
Right.
So when we got approved on July 1st for this next year, for FY19 grant funding, we had to identify the tasks that we were going to spend the $200,000 on.
Okay, so
So-
is $200,000 the full grant from the DEP?
That's the full grant, yes.
Okay.
But we've already spent approximately $95,000 of that to do
Okay.
the drilling of the previous 2 wells and also the sampling and extending pump test, the second pump
Okay.
test that we've done, so.
So this should probably round the rest of the
Sure. This should use the rest of the grant, but it's not exactly what our tasks had identified. So moving forward, the Board of Selectmen agreed with the engineer's recommendation to drill the Water Sewer Commission voted to move forward with the engineer's recommendation pending DEP approval. So our next steps, or my next steps, will be to set up the meeting with the engineer and DEP,
Okay.
give them an update of where we're at, and also make sure that the steps we plan to move forward with are consistent with what they'd recommend as well, and get them to sign off on using the additional grant funding to go in a different avenue than what we had originally anticipated.
Okay.
So that's going to be our next steps.
Can you give us a rough estimate of a timeline for this?
Hopefully, if we can get in front of the DEP in the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending what winter weather looks like and
That's what I was
snow.
thinking
We
of,
can,
yeah.
the engineer said it's a track drilling machine, so as long as there's not too much snow, he said they can still get in there
Okay.
and drill. If the ground's frozen, that really doesn't matter much to the drill rig, and they can pump at any time, really. So hopefully it'll move sooner than later.
Good.
The option that we have on the piece of property, the initial offer to purchase or purchase and sales agreement expires December 31st of 2018,
Okay.
but we have the option to extend that for 6 months.
Alrighty.
So that will definitely we'll be looking to do that.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest that we extend
Yeah.
that for another 6 months.
And then I also found a grant that's available to reimburse towns up to 50% of the purchase price for land that is going to be used as a possible public water supply. It's for protection of that land. So hopefully, the Water Sewer Commission also approved for me to go and get a appraisal done of the property, because that's the first part of the grant application. So I'll be starting that process as well, and hopefully we'll know that if that grant was accepted by February or so.
And who would this grant be through? I'm
E-
sorry to put you on the
EOEEC, Executive Office of
Energy
Environmental.
and Environmental.
Yeah, it's one of those 5-letter acronyms from
Lots
the
of
state.
E's there, okay,
Yes.
okay.
So that's where we are with Buffinville.
That's fantastic. Thank you for all your hard work
Oh, sure.
in finding that grant. This could be such a boon for the town if this works out. So after you get through the next step, the test on the other 2 wells you're going to drill,
Yes.
can you come back to the board and give us an update?
Sure, so I guess the anticipation there the engineer will be able to tell us what the well will be safely able to produce. He's estimating right now about 170,000 gallons per day if all 3 wells can pump 40 to 50 gallons per minute safely. Now, after we do our Berry Corner Road water line extension, the overlook connects, and the school loop is completed, we're estimating that our average daily flow will be upwards of over 210,000 gallons per day.
Okay,
The goal or the hopes was to find one source to be able to fully supply the town. Unfortunately, that's really not going to happen, and as the engineer put it last night, even though it doesn't fully supply the town, it gets us a good chunk of being able to supply a good portion of the town, and gets us to create our own true public water supply system that we can then expand on and find maybe a couple of 50,000 gallon per day wells in different areas to supplement what we've already created.
it's absolutely a step in the right direction.
Yes,
Yeah, especially on that side of town too, be able to water that.
yes.
So.
And so, unfortunately, it's not the full supply we were looking for, but it's still a step in the right direction, and it's a step to get us started on
Yes.
the path. Until we start talking about cost to develop, then we'll have to weigh those options and see what type of return on investment we're going to get to actually develop that well, get it to the current infrastructure of where the water line is going to be and what that cost is going to look like.
Right, I think it depends on where the water line's going to go, what it can be used for, what type of infrastructure, as to what return we will get on our investment.
Right.
If we can get that water line to Route 20,
Well, the water line's on Route 20, but we'll be able to
tap
we'll be
into
able to
that.
charge the rest of Route
Yes.
20 if we were able to build this well,
Right.
definitely. So that's where we are with that.
well, that's great news.
If you have a second, the police station water line connection, I don't know if the board's made any vote on that. I know at special town meeting, the funding was transferred to fund the extension of the water line up Masonic Home Road to the police station.
Yes,
The Water Sewer Commission voted last night to recommend that the Board of Selectmen take advantage of that at this time and have ExxonMobil's contractor extend the line up to the police station as designed by McClure Engineering
Okay.
at their unit pricing.
Yeah, I don't think we took action on it.
we did not take action on it.
But I think that would be something I would ask for our next meeting.
Yes,
They will be done on Masonic Home Road by your next meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, if you happen to drive down Masonic Home Road, they're about halfway to Masonic Home now. So if you do want them to do that, unfortunately, now would be the time to make that decision, because after they get to the overlook, they're going to Old Worcester Road, and they're going to start heading east towards Route 20.
what's the end date on that? What day do you expect that to be completed? Like, what's our
Depending
drop
on
dead date?
progress, if everything goes well, they may be done by Friday.
This Friday?
Yes, if not, somewhere the latest, the middle of next week. They made quite a bit of progress today. They're almost halfway up the hill towards the overlook, so.
I would then make a motion to authorize the construction of the water line extension and authorize Ms. Craver to oversee that and work with the Water Sewer Commission.
Second. Anything we should add to that, or you?
No, I think that's all we need.
So, yeah, I trust,
The fund-
Ms. Craver to work with
Yeah.
you, and if there's any glaring issues, I'm sure
So-
you'll both be able to hash it out.
So the most important thing is the funding is in place.
Yes.
As long as you make that motion, will Robin be in tomorrow, or?
Hopefully, she's sick right now, but I'm
Okay.
sure she would be able to.
I'll try and touch
talk
base
you.
with her before I get in touch with the construction company to make sure that that is enough and that we can give them the go-ahead to continue going up to the police station at this time.
Ms. Craver, as well as the rest of the board, are always available via email,
Okay,
so we can get this done.
all right,
Okay,
excellent.
Thank you for that.
thank you.
And how is the construction going on? How is it progressing?
We need to vote on the motion.
It's going
Oh,
well.
we need to vote on the motion.
We need to vote on the
Oh,
motion, I'm
talk about
sorry.
it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Great.
Okay, now we can move on to the next part.
How's construction going?
Construction is going. The Berry Corner Road is just about done. They're on H-foot road, and they're encountering quite a bit of ledge, so they had to bring in a blaster to help them get through that ledge in the roadway. So they're working through that process now. As far as the school loop, that just started last week, so Albanese is just getting started. As I said, they're almost halfway to the overlook now. They've been working since last Thursday, so I believe that's about 1,400 feet, and they should have that finished fairly soon. And once they get that done, and now, once they get up to the police, from the overlook to the police station is only 250 feet, so that won't add much time, I guess, to that portion. They're going to jump over onto the other side of Main Street and start going down Old Worcester Road and
Okay.
try and get as much done as they can during this construction season, so
Okay.
everything seems to be going pretty well.
I've seen the construction going up and down Masonic Home Road
Yeah.
for weeks. But it does look, as I drove over it tonight, it does look almost finished. You're right.
Yeah, they're almost, they made quite a bit of progress today, so if they have a couple more good days, depending on weather,
Mm-hmm.
they should get there fairly soon.
Very good.
Good
All
to
right.
hear.
Thanks for the
Great.
update.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice
Thanks
night.
for you.
Always good news from you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Board of Selectmen goals and objectives. We've agreed to hold that tonight. Following that would be the marijuana discussion and the process with Fourscore LLC. Because we don't have the full complement of the board tonight, we have decided to put that on hold until our next regular meeting. Which brings us to the classification changes,
Which we're also holding?
which we are also holding tonight, though I am unsure as to why.
I don't think
I don't-
we even have
We
a
don't have
memo
any.
for that.
We don't have any
Yeah.
information
I
on
don't
that,
think
so,
It was ready for this evening.
okay. So with that, let's go to the upcoming holiday schedule.
With Thanksgiving and Christmas quickly approaching, questions arise of holiday time for the employees. Per the personnel bylaw and union contracts, employees are allowed Thanksgiving Day and the day after Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve afternoon, if it falls on a workday, and Christmas Day off. Because we are not open on Fridays, Ms. Kraber would ask the board to consider allowing the employees to take the day before Thanksgiving off as their Friday and consider closing Christmas Eve for the full day as well. This would save on heating instead of being open for one half day on Monday and returning on Wednesday. We would be open Wednesday and Thursday. What are the board's wishes?
Can we just clarify this for just a second? So we are asking that the employees take Wednesday and Thursday off the week of Thanksgiving. So the town hall would be closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the week of Thanksgiving. That would be the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of November. And then Christmas Eve, which is the 24th, that's a Monday, so we would be closed Monday and Tuesday in December, the 24th and 25th, and reopen on Wednesday, the 26th, to be open Wednesday and Thursday. Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I would move that we close on the day before Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve.
Second?
any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor of closing the town hall and giving the employees the day off for the long holiday weekends in November and December?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We wish that our town employees enjoy their holiday weekends. Under old business. Do we have any old business?
No.
Committee reports. Solar Moratorium Committee?
We haven't met. We're meeting on October 30th. So
Okay. And where will the Solar Moratorium Committee meeting be?
it'll be here at the town hall.
Okay.
And the links on the website to the agenda and time, place, et cetera, so. under
Okay.
Town of Charlton.
Very good. The Marijuana Advisory Committee will be meeting Tuesday, November 6th at 5:30 in the Health Department office. Everyone is welcome to attend. These are open meetings.
Madam Chair, I did have a quick question about the Marijuana Advisory Committee. And
Yes.
perhaps this will be a future agenda item. I think we need to clarify if we are going to move forward, per discussion happened many months ago, to expand that particular group
Okay.
before it can be part of any other marijuana facilities, make any decisions about anyone in the future. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes,
Right.
Yes,
I agree.
to expand the duties and the parameters of the Marijuana Advisory Committee?
Right, or if we want to do that, because I know they have to, that one was specifically designed for, or created for, to work with HealthWise, which
Yes.
is now.
Green Gold.
Green Gold Group,
I will put that down.
LLC.
Yes, so I don't know if it's easier to expand that one or form a different one, and I guess that's for discussion at another meeting, but just food for thought.
Right, I think that's why we changed our name to the Marijuana Advisory Committee, so that it would be more encompassing,
But I don't think we took a vote on
but I don't think we
exactly
did either.
changing the charges of the committee.
And
Okay.
and according to the host agreement we have with, well, at the time, HealthWise, it says that they too have to agree we both have to agree in writing to, that's what's going to happen, whatever the conditions are, so
Okay,
I reread that, so just to bring it to your
So I would,
attention.
Ms. Chair.
yes,
Bring this up at the next advisory committee meeting and get everyone's take on that.
okay,
And then we'll task the town administrator to put it on our next meeting. Agenda.
absolutely. What I will do tomorrow is I will email the chair of the Marijuana Advisory Committee and ask him to send out something to all the committee members so that we can work collaboratively prior to the meeting to come up with a new set of proposed guidelines about what our advisory committee should be doing and looking at going forward.
Great.
And we can bring that back to the Board of Selectmen.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up. Policy review. We will be having that policy review meeting or a workshop in December.
Correct.
December 11th.
Thank you.
I have a couple more I'll be sending to Robin to share with the board, so we can go over at our workshop.
I appreciate all your hard work on this. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Student Select Persons Report. Anya?
Hi.
Hi.
Just a couple things. Starting with athletics, the girls' senior varsity field hockey won against Fitchburg yesterday, 5-0. And it was also their senior night, so there were big posters of the seniors and their numbers posted on the field, and they were honored for their years of playing field hockey. Both the junior varsity and senior varsity cheerleading took first at their competitions this past weekend. Shepherd Hill sophomore Henry Ryland ran a 16:26 2-mile, making him the second fastest Shepherd Hill runner in history at the high school.
Wow.
Last Friday, majority of the junior class went on a field trip to Salem, Massachusetts to learn about the witch trials and enrich themselves fully on the subject of the crucible, which is being studied in all of the classes excluding AP Language and Composition. Also, with field trips, yesterday, the humanities scholars went to Holy Name, and there was an art field trip where the art students walked around the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. For upcoming stuff, tomorrow, October 24th, the show choir fantasy and a couple of the advanced Spanish classes are taking a field trip to Harvard University for an exhibit on La Dia de los Muertos, the Mexican Day of the Dead holiday. November 2nd, report cards for quarter 1 will be made viewable on School Brains. November 7th is the second annual Chorus Fall Showcase, and updates with different committees through the school. The Superintendent's Advisory Council has been reformed with the current interim superintendent, Dr. Nash, and our main focus for this coming year will be to form better relationships between the middle and high school students.
Very good. Can I ask what the catalyst was for your goal? Was there any particular?
We kind of
Reason?
just met, and everything's like new this year. We're reorganizing it because she's never formed an advisory board before, and some of the kids brought up issues because a couple of them are school choice that just came here this past year, and they talked about difficulty of their transition, and we talked about the fact that we're a regional school district and how it's difficult for kids to come to the high school who are from other towns too in school choice. So we just wanted to encompass the entirety of transitioning from wherever you're coming from to the high school and knowing that you have people that are there to help you. So we're gonna try and plan more events and things that'll happen so that when kids come up to the high school, they know that they have a friend there.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's incredibly commendable. Thank you so much. And please let us know if this board can help in any capacity.
All right. I will do that.
Okay.
We have our first meeting next week on the 30th.
Thank you.
Yep.
We do not have a town administrator's report this evening because we do not have a town administrator with us this evening. So we're going to pass over that item. Other business unknown at time of posting.
Attached is a request from Dominic Lombardi for a special liquor license for wine and malt beverages to be used for a wedding on Saturday, November 10th, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Camp Joslin, 150 Richardson Corner Road. This request has been forwarded and approved by the Building Commissioner, Fire Department, and Police Department. Per the board's policy, the license, if the day is requested, is approved, should be issued for 2 additional days for the following reasons. November 9th, to allow delivery of alcohol to establishment where no sales will be allowed. November 10th, for use on the approved date and time as listed. And November 11th, to allow for pickup of any unused alcohol where no sales will be allowed. These dates would be reflected on the license, and Ms. Craver would recommend the board approve the special license as requested.
What are the wishes of the board?
Oh, so moved?
So seconded.
Just to let everyone know, the reason this is coming in under other business is because the wedding will be taking place before our next Board of Selectmen meeting, and we wanted to make sure that we took care of it as quickly as possible so that the wedding could go through as planned.
And has been reviewed by all the departments.
Absolutely. What are the wishes of the board?
There's a motion and a second.
And,
Are you calling a
To
vote?
grant the,
yes,
aye.
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Any other business?
Question, the marijuana discussion that got put on hold?
Excuse me.
I'm
You have to come up here, introduce yourself.
Oh, all right, first time here, so,
That's
Oh,
okay.
welcome.
Thank you for being here this evening.
oh, thank you. My name's Patty Subitsky, and I was just inquiring, or something was on the agenda tonight, 7:15, the marijuana discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened with that?
Well, because the town administrator could not be here, because we are missing 2 other selectmen, Selectman Singer and Selectman McGrath, we decided to put this item on hold until our next meeting because the information that Fourscore would be giving to the board should be heard by all members.
Okay.
So
So
we
when's
are
that
hoping,
scheduled again?
yes, it will be scheduled again at our next regular Board of Selectmen
Which
meeting.
should be November 20th.
Okay, all right, very good.
But thank you for coming out.
All right, thank you very much.
And we hope to see you again on November 20th.
Yeah, you will. Thank you, have a good evening.
Take care.
Thank you. Next meeting announcements. November 13th, please attend the Northeast Energy Center public hearing at 7 p.m. It will be here in the Board of Selectmen's room. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, November 20th at 6:30 here in the Board of Selectmen's meeting room. We will be skipping November 6th as that is Election Day.
Motion we adjourn?
Second?
Any discussion?
Have a good, safe, happy Halloween.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.